looking for the dog to check in to be like, I'm checking in, can I have a treat? I'm looking for a dog checking in and asking a question. And the question is, do you see that? And are you going to do something about it? And depending on where we are on that cycle, my response might be, yep, I see it and we're fine. And I'm going to show my dog through my body language and my energy and all of that stuff that I'm cool with it. And I'm looking for the dog to be cool with it too. Like if you're cool with it, then I'm cool with it. All that and more today. Today's topic, why avoiding triggers isn't really the answer for fearful dogs. When to butt in, when to butt out. We're talking about all of it today. Let's get it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hello, and welcome. It's Tracy. It's Beyond Obedience. You're here. I'm here. We're hanging out. I'm so happy that you are here. Woo! It has been a week. Am I right? It has been a week. I know that, there's been all the Thanksgiving celebrations for my American friends, and then all of the craziness of Black Friday, and then Cyber Monday, and now we all have to prep for Christmas. And oh gosh, there's so much on our plates right now. And on top of it, you have to work in all of that threshold training and exposure training and doing all the things to help your fearful dog make it through. And are you a little overwhelmed right now? Are you a little overwhelmed? I know that I would be too. And so today I thought I would talk a little bit more about some concepts here. I know a lot of us struggle with the idea of when we should butt in and when we should butt out. When should we push our dogs a little bit more and when should we retreat to safety? And that's sometimes challenging. So today I actually wanted to break it down a little bit. Today I want to talk about triggers and why avoiding triggers isn't always the best answer for your fearful dog, and how we have to find a system, a method, a way of gauging when we should move forward. And one of the ways that I like to do that is by implementing my 3-step system that I use. This was a concept that was taught to me by my mentor, Nelson, and I like to share it with others because it really does help sort of put things in perspective. So to start off, obviously, when your dog has a fearful episode, no matter how they react, if they are a dog that reacts outwardly by lunging, barking, and all that stuff, or if they're a dog that reacts maybe inwardly, the ones where they're just kind of sitting there shivering, shaking, or they're freezing, they don't want to move. Perhaps you have a dog that's running behind you and is like, I don't want to deal with that, or just shutting down completely. Whatever the expression of the fearful reactive behavior, however that comes out for you and your dog, we still want to try to make sure that we know when is the best time for us to say, okay, we're going to have to move forward, and when should we take a break. So first and foremost, our first instinct, I think, is always to avoid it, right? One, it's easier for the dog. It gives the dog a sense of relief. And honestly, it's easier for us in the beginning, right? It's easier for us. We're just like, I'm just going to avoid going down that street where that dog is, I'm just going to avoid going out for walks during the day with the rest of the humans. I'm just going to avoid taking my dog here or there, or the other thing. But very soon, we start to realize that has its limitations because, one, sometimes you have to walk down that street, or sometimes you do have to take your dog down that way, or sometimes you do have to take the dog to the vet, right? We can't avoid everything all the time. And so there comes a time when we have to start going, okay, I need to ease you out of your comfort zone. I've talked about this before. If you've missed those episodes on the comfort zone and creating comfort zones and the importance of a comfort zone, you can go back to those. But we know that there's times that we need to ease our dog out of those comfort zones, and then we want to actually expose them to those triggers so that we can help them eventually get over it. The goal is to get over it, right? That's the ultimate goal. We don't want to spend our whole life avoiding everything. So while avoiding is our natural first instinct, it's important for us to actually allow the dog to observe the world, see the world, have their fearful reaction, and then come out the other side. I've talked about this before, but it's the, oh my God, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die moment, followed by the, I didn't die moment. And by allowing our dogs to actually have that full cycle of, oh my God, I'm going to die, and the, I didn't die moment, we start to life layer these experiences. We allow the dogs to have the win. So if we're thinking about, is this the right time to move to that testing stage, to that phase where we're going out and we're actually exposing our dogs, the first step, and this is inside the Fearless framework, this is part of the framework, the very first step is acknowledging that the dog trusts us. Okay? We want to make sure that our dogs have that trust. And we, of course, we do that by being predictable, right? Remember, I talk about the pattern of predictability. We want to advocate for our dog. We want to stand up for our dog. We want to take that time to be like, nope, you can't pet my dog, or nope, get that dog out of my dog's space. You're going to do all of that. Also, if you haven't tried the being with exercise or the be with exercise, letting your dog choose the lead and celebrating their wins when it's safe to do so. All of those exercises are what helps build that initial trust in you. And many people like ask me, okay, well, how do I know? Like, how do I know for sure? Well, honestly, you'll start to see the dog defer to you. That would be the ultimate thing. I would be looking for a dog that now, instead of having that exposure where they go, oh my God, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. And then they freak out, either they bark, lunge, or whatnot, but they go, oh, that scared me. But then they look to you and go, that was scary. What are we going to do about it? That's what I'm kind of looking for. I'm looking for a dog that eventually starts looking to me. And the more times that you have this opportunity to practice building this trust by advocating for your dog, standing in between space, letting your dog know that you see those threats, the more times you get to do that, the more your dog is going to start to turn to you and be like, do you see that? Do you get that? And you go, yeah, I got it. I see it. I got it. Right? So that's step number one. Okay, we want to make sure that first step is there before we start this testing phase, right? Well, we never want to take a dog out and be like, we haven't really worked on our bond yet, but go out there and deal with all of that stuff out there. It's not going to happen, right? So then step two is, in fact, just a testing phase. And I like to call it a testing phase because I think some people get really caught up in this idea that, now that I've built trust, now you should trust me, so it should be fine. No, it's still a test, right? We're going to introduce this with gentle testing, right? We're going to just sort of ease your dog out. We're going to let your dog sort of explore and see. We're still going to take some space. We might still be quite a distance away from the possible triggers and whatnot, but we're going to test. And what are we testing for? We're testing to see if the dog still defers to us. Does your dog see the trigger and then defer to you? Now, I'm sure, and I'm not an expert on them, but I'm sure there's probably a ton of different training techniques where, you can reward when they do look at the thing and they don't react, and then they look back at you and then you reward with food. I personally don't do that. I'm just looking for the dog's checking in. I'm not looking for the dog to check in to be like, I'm checking in, can I have a treat? I'm looking for a dog checking in and asking a question. And the question is, do you see that? And are you going to do something? And depending on where we are on that cycle, my response might be, yep, I see it and we're fine. So I'm not going to respond. And that's what dogs are looking for. You're not reacting, so I'm not going to react. And I'm going to just see how this plays out. If, for example, I'm doing this with a dog that's fearful of other dogs and we've gone to an area where there's dogs over there, over there by the dog park, and we're quite a distance, and my dog looks at me and goes, do you see those dogs are there? And I'm going to go, yep, I see them, and we're good. We're just going to stand our ground and we're going to stay here and I'm just going to watch them. And I'm going to show my dog through my body language and my energy and all of that stuff that I'm cool with it. And I'm looking for the dog to be cool with it too. Like if you're cool with it, then I'm cool with it. But if I take my dog out and we're quite a distance away and the dog is still like just not at all interested in what I think of the trigger, then I'm going to say we're not there yet. And we're going to try some other things. We're going to have to step back into step one and be like, let's do some more stuff then. So you know that I got your back. You know that I understand what's going on. And that may not be with the same trigger. I should point that out because people are like, how do I do that? If you're not doing it with the trigger, how do I do it? You're going to build that up with things that are less triggering. I see it. I got your back. I'm not going to let that person touch you. I'm not going to let this dog come near you. I'm going to go back to step one. Everything is a test. Everything is a how interesting. How interesting, right? We're not going to judge it. Well, you're going to judge it. You're going to judge it, and then you're going to hear my voice in the back of your head going, how interesting. I wonder why that happened. How interesting my dog reacted to that. I didn't think my dog would react to that, but my dog reacted to that. How interesting. We're just going to put it under the category of how interesting. No judgment. No judgment. And then we're going to take a step back and we're going to go back home and we're going to do some fun things and we're going to go back to the comfort zone and we're going to mark it down in our journal if we have to about like how interesting moments. We're going to get out our how interesting journal. We're going to write it down and we're going to be like, that didn't work. I wonder why. We're not gonna harp on it. We're not gonna beat ourselves up over it. We're not gonna think that all is lost. Please know, and hear me when I say this. I've done an episode on this, but I'm gonna say it again. Please know, setbacks are normal. You are going to have setbacks. Expect it and get to the point where you're like, yes, I finally got a setback. Now I've got something else to work on. If everything went perfectly fine for you, like if you were like working on trust building and whatnot, and then you took your dog out one day, you're like, oh man, everything worked out well. Like we have to know that not all things are going to go well. I was reading some of the comments inside the Fearful Dog student community, and I think the common theme is people are coming and going, oh my God, I had this great day. My dog did this. And then the very next day I went out and, there was a dog barking at the fence line and then two other dogs came around the corner. My dog lost his mind. How interesting. Of course he would. That's way too much. And you can't predict that. How interesting. You just take that dog home and you'd be like, man, we are going to have to try that again. But it's constantly, this is a cycle. Remember, everything with dogs is a cycle. So we're going to test it. We're going to try it. If we have success, we're going to celebrate the bejesus out of it. We're going to celebrate that. Then we're going to test again. We're going to go home. We're going to absorb what we've learned. We're going to go out the next day. We might have a setback. We're going to write it in our How Interesting journal, and we're just going to keep moving on. And I'm going to suggest this, and I am going to suggest this. I'm going to put this out there. Paisley's going to be coming on the podcast in the next couple of episodes because she's my kid and I want her to, and it's fun. But if you don't know, Paisley is a partner in Beyond Obedience. She does a lot of the really nice graphics. She's incredibly brilliant that way. But she also has a keen eye for dog stuff because she has been my mini me my entire life. She's been out in play groups from a very young age. She, at a very young age, was able to walk through a play group and handle like 20, 30 dogs in a play group. That's who Paisley is. So she knows what she's talking about. But I will tell you, as a sidebar, part of her creative outlet is she is working on a journal she's working on a journal. She's working on a How Interesting journal. So we're excited. We're hoping that that's going to be coming out in January. So look forward to that. But while you're waiting for your How Interesting journal, I want you to just start writing it down. Write down your journal. Even if you're not a journaler. It's not going to come. I don't think it's a word. It's not going to come. Even if you're not someone who likes to journal. There we go. I would highly recommend journaling it. And the reason for it is because this journey that you and I are taking, this journey that you and I are going on right here and right now is not a quick fix. I never ever claim that it will be. It's not a quick fix, but what you are going to find is that one day you're going to look back and you're going to go, oh, remember when the dog used to do this? I don't think he's done that in months. Or do you remember how we used to be able to, oh my gosh, I haven't had to worry about that for months. It's going to hit you one day where you're like, things have gotten better. But see, we have a hard time seeing those tiny little steps if we don't actually write it down. So I would highly encourage you, maybe as your New Year's resolution, because maybe in the new year, you're going to pick up that How Interesting journal. As your New Year's resolution, maybe that be something that you're going to do. I'm going to start journaling this. I'm going to start documenting this. I want to start to be able to look back at my journey and know that my dog has made huge progress. And not just my dog, but you. Because what I have come to realize in my journey with working with people is that my joy comes from working with you, the person that's listening to this right now. That's where my joy comes from. I love dogs. I really do. But I love the people who love those dogs. That's what I do. I want nothing more than to see success for you. And I know that some parts of this journey are going to be discouraging. And while I want to normalize it, I also want you to have it documented. I want you to have it documented because one day you're going to look back and go, oh my gosh, remember when we couldn't go down Smith Street because of that jerk of a dog that was always barking at us? Look at him now. Or look at her now. Or look at what we can do now. Like, you're going to see it. And that's what I want for you. All right. I went on a tangent there and I lost what I was going. Bottom line is we're going to start small. We're going to observe and then we're going to adjust. We're going to embrace setbacks. These are our things. We're going to start small. We're going to observe and adjust. We're going to embrace those setbacks, right? And we're going to celebrate every little tiny win. And we're going to how interesting the bejesus out of all of the quote unquote setbacks. And we're not going to get overcome with guilt or shame or I must have done it wrong. We're just going to how interesting this. Okay? So the main takeaway here is that avoidance isn't the answer, right? We don't want to avoid forever. We want to allow our dogs to have those moments, have the, oh my God, I'm going to die moment, followed by the, I didn't die moment. And the more times that we can do that, no matter how small those are, the more times that we can do that, the more we life layer that, the more we build confidence with our dogs naturally, the more celebrations we get to have, and the more your dog's world opens up to them. And then you get to enjoy that journey with them. And that's the ultimate goal. So I invite you to take in this episode, but also get a notepad, start a How Interesting journal. And then, you know what, do me a favor, head on over to the free Facebook group, go over into Living Beyond Obedience, and write down and tell me your How Interesting moments. Tell me what's happening. Tell me what's going on. How are things going? And if you are feeling discouraged, if it has gotten you down where you feel like you're not progressing, put that down too, because we'll be there to support you through that. That group is on fire. Filled with kind people. And if you're someone that is like, listen, 2025 is going to be the time that I really get this under control. I really would like a little bit of extra support. I want the framework. I want the community. I want the extra love that Tracy gives to that community. Consider coming over and joining us inside the Fearful Dog Fearless Framework. That's the online program. You get the program, you get the incredible community, you get the monthly Q&As, and if you join now before December 15th, you get to join and be a part of our Christmas party, where we are going to be sharing videos, and I'm going to be doing in-depth behavior analysis of your videos. If your dog has a behavior and you want to share it and you want to know what is going on, Tracy, how can you help me? This is how. Get in. I will tell you right now that most people that book one-on-ones with me pay $197 to do this. You get that plus the Fearful Dog Fearless Framework and the ongoing support. So it's a heck of a good deal. So if you're interested in doing that, make sure you go to beyondobedience.ca/fearless. Sign up today. I would love to join you in this journey. And as always, get out there today, my friends, and be the person that your dog thinks you are. Because your dog thinks that you are amazing And so do I. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only, and it's not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you or a dog are really struggling, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.